one last thing.
Okay.
I think we ought to be praying that there's a surgeon able to help this pastor as soon as these financial needs and stuff, because it's fine to raise the money, it's fine to pray for them and everything, but at the same time, probably need to lift that the Lord will send the proper surgeon to take care of, since it's so minimal. We don't need, there's A, B, and C surgeons. We don't need C over there.
He wants to
You
go,
know what I mean?
yeah, he wants to go to Malaysia to have it done because the
Oh,
Malaysian,
okay,
the
yeah.
Malaysian medical community is Western, and have Western ways and Western equipment.
Yeah, I don't want to sit there and all of a sudden they said, "What, you guys didn't bring me any box with it?" I tell you, a lot of countries. I know Venezuela, we've got friends, same things happening right now. You gotta go buy the antibiotics before you show up for the surgery.
Right. We've been a while since we've actually looked at any scripture here.
You're on what, 612?
Yeah, I think I want to start there, and I think I'll just read 12 through 17 in chapter 6. We sort of have it. We need to have it in our minds before we go on to chapter 7, and it's been a little while. So,
6 seal.
so starting at Revelation 6:12, when he opened the sixth seal, and that he is the Lamb, I looked, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth. The full moon became like blood, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth, as the fig tree sheds its winter fruit when shaken by a gale. The sky vanished like a scroll that's being rolled up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Then the kings of the earth, and the great ones, and the generals, and the rich, and the powerful, and everyone, slave and free, hid themselves in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains, calling to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who is seated on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who can stand? It's a lot of judgment, isn't it? It seems like the final judgment, doesn't it? It's without going through it, all of the things that are referenced in that paragraph are repeated over and over in the apocalyptic portions of the Old Testament, describing the final judgment. So, and remember, we're following here the prayers of the saints who are under the altar in heaven, under God's altar in heaven, and they've asked the question, how long? And this is part of God's answer to that question. So quite a lot going on there. And then just to make the transition a little smoother, maybe I'll read the first part of chapter 7 here. So the next words, after this, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth. After this, we've learned, means that this is a separate vision. He isn't talking about chronology of the events in the vision. He's talking about having seen this vision after he saw the other vision. So this is a new vision beginning in chapter 7. After this, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth, that no wind might blow on earth or sea, or against any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the rising of the sun with the seal of the living God. And he called with a loud voice to the four angels who had been given power to harm earth and sea, saying, do not harm the earth or the sea or the trees until we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads. And I heard the number of the sealed, 144,000, sealed from every tribe of the sons of Israel. There's a lot to process there, but I want you to focus with me for a minute on the time, the chronology of when the events of this vision would have happened. The previous vision ended with the final judgment. The sky was rolled up like a scroll. Earthquakes, the end, everything is done. This vision begins. I saw four angels standing at the four corners of the earth, holding back the four winds of the earth, that no wind might blow on earth or sea or against any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the rising of the sun with the seal of the living God, and he called with a loud voice to the four angels, saying, do not harm the earth or the sea or the trees until we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads. In the chronology of events, not the chronology of visions, but the chronology of events, doesn't this have to occur before the final judgment takes place? After the final judgment, this isn't going to take place. After the final judgment, it's already done. The judgment is done. This is asking for someone to stop the angels who have been sent to destroy the earth and stop and wait until we've sealed God's people. And so this series of events, though it's in a later vision, it seems to me has to take place before final judgment. There's just no, I mean, you can't have this going on after final judgment, can you?
Well, isn't it amazing that just occurs with the number 7?
Yeah.
And that's normally the number of completeness,
Completion.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the same time, this seal refers to Israel.
First
So-
part of it does.
Huh?
First part of it does.
Well, my Bible's showing, the whole, that's the explanation of how Israel comes into it, yeah.
But when you get down to verse 9, after this I looked, and behold, a great multitude that no one could number, from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb. So there's a lot of folks present while all this is taking place.
Well, he's looking after the original tribes though here first, right?
Yeah, there's
The 12,000s of several of all, yeah,
yep, 12 times 12,000.
right.
The order that the tribes are listed in is interesting. The first four sons of Jacob were Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. And Judah here, number 4 son, of course, we know the Lion of the tribe of Judah. That's the Lamb that's opening these seals. So it makes sense for him to be first. But then Reuben, and then Gad. Gad is way further down in the list. So I'll have to study that a little bit, see if there's any reason for them to be in the order that they're listed in there.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, I've got Judah first, Reuben second, and Gad third, Asher fourth.
Yep, that's what I have.
Oh, okay.
That's the way they're listed here.
Yeah.
That isn't their birth order though.
Oh, birth order, okay.
Yeah, it's different than the.
Yeah, I'm sure it's different. But is there a reason for this to be listed in the order in which the Lord saw fit to have it in this order here? were these the nations in the ranking of which they came on scene or were created?
There's no doubt a reason for the order in which they're listed, but
You don't know that?
I don't think no, Fred, I don't.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Uh,
See if there's a.
I'm
photo
humbled.
on that.
Well, I'll have to look into that a little bit, see if I can figure out why that listing is that way.
Well, Judah ruled over his brothers,
Yeah,
you know.
there's good reason for him to be first.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah,
doubt
that's
about
a pretty obvious to me, the beginning point.
Well, there's one false thing about this.
What?
It says in here, the Jehovah Witnesses still don't have it right. Because I think that's it. That's all it's going to heaven. I had one that come up my door one day and I asked them when she came, she said, I said, who y'all with? And she said, Jehovah Witness. I said, I've been meaning to want to talk to y'all. So in other words, of all the time in history, you think that you're going to heaven if you're going to stop at 144?
Mm,
And the woman couldn't answer it.
yeah. So now we're stuck in Bob's notes. The sixth seal, God will demonstrate his justice by executing final judgment on the unbelieving world. That's 12 through 17 in chapter 6. There's a lot there. We've already been through it, and I don't want to spend the time going back through it, but look at the list of places in the Old Testament where it mentions the same things that are mentioned in this description in chapter 6 of the final judgment. The earth will become desolate. The Lord will twist its surface, scatter its inhabitants. As with the buyer, the seller, the lender, the borrower, the creditor, the earth shall be utterly empty and utterly plundered, for the Lord has spoken his word. Empty. That's part of the description of it in chapter 6, the end of chapter 6. The earth mourns and withers, the world languishes and withers. The highest people of the earth languish. The earth lies defiled under its inhabitants, transgressed, violated the statutes, broken the everlasting covenant. He goes on and on. I will drench the land even to the mountains with your flowing blood. The ravines will be full of you. Cover the heavens and make their stars dark. Cover the sun with a cloud. The moon shall not give its light. All of these things are different places in the Old Testament where it's talking about the end. And all of this is referenced in these little short verses at the end of chapter 6 that are talking about the final judgment. The whole Old Testament describes this final judgment using similar language, similar terms. Obviously, it's always in a context, and the context affects a little bit how it's used, but this is the book of Revelation. This is our New Testament prophet, I want to say, using all of the Old Testament language to make sure that we understand that he's talking about final judgment.
When you said a minute ago, the world would be void, right? I think basically by spelling all this out, it's once God and Jesus come out of it. These are all the benefits you guys used to have. Would you not think it in that manner? And now that I'm no longer going to be there among you, in that all this is a reflection of me leaving.
Certainly that's true.
Okay.
But I'm also seeing that this is all in keeping with the notion that God's going to create a new heavens and a new earth. The old earth is going away. The old earth is going to be destroyed. The sky's rolled up. Everything's gone. The creation that you and I know, gone.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt there. Yeah.
And that's I think what's being described here. it isn't that we won't have anything familiar in the new creation, because the new creation will have familiar things in it, but it's not going to be the things that are corrupted by the fall of man. The old is going to go, the new is going to arrive. So it's the picture here is of the final judgment. So the
It's
cosmic,
hard to imagine,
oh, it is. It's frightening.
because you're trying to think of something that isn't good.
Yeah. This is, when it happens, it will be highly recognizable.
Yeah, there won't be any doubt. That's sort of one of the things I think about a lot. This is, it's not gonna be any doubt in the minds of, well, there'll be a delusion among the boss of the world will still be in rebellion, but it's clearly gonna be the hand of God at work.
Wouldn't you hate to be flying that time? I mean, the folks that don't know the Lord and they're up there flying all these planes that fly around the US all day. I don't know what's there, 4,000 or 5,000 up there all the time flying. And all of a sudden this occurred. There could be a real concern up there with several of the passengers.
Yeah, it'll be a real concern, I think, no matter where we are.
Well, I would think at that point, we'd be raptured, and then if this was, final piece that you said is a separate piece of the chronological order, that being next, that would be occurring.
I haven't got to the rapture yet. I didn't see it in the scripture yet.
It's coming.
Okay. I'll trust you on
But
that.
I bet the Lord is on every TV channel there is in the world, so his message will get across right quick.
On that we agree. His message will get across.
Yeah.
So, reflections on these verses, idolatry as the fundamental expression of human rebellion against God. Idolatry began in the garden with the choice to find security apart from God and to find independence from God in the fruit of the forbidden tree. Idolatry is still the fundamental sin of men and women, and it is always expressed as an attachment to created things rather than the Creator. It took me a long time to understand, to filter through idolatry until I understood that it is anything and everything that interferes with my relationship with God. And there are so many things that interfere with my relationship with God. Just so you're satisfied, because your minds have already gone there. Yes, football season interferes with my relationship with God. I want to watch those football games. I do. I'm a sinner.
I bet all the people go to the beach. What are they looking at? Each other?
And I think about, I mean, I get pushback on this sometimes, but I think family can become idolatry.
Bingo.
You know,
Absolutely. It's one of the
know.
most dangerous things we've got going.
Yeah, because you sort of, and I say I get pushback. I don't get pushback in a real hard way, because I only say things like this to people who understand, that there is idolatry and that human hearts can be, but a lot of times, we'll put our families before our relationship with God. I had a guy tell me one time that he didn't do such and such with church because this was the only time that he could be with his family, and I sort of explored with him a little bit about only time, and it was like, well, actually there was lots of time, but this was the one time that he and his wife could do XYZ, and I'm like, so in other words, she's more important than and that was a hard moment for him, and not a good moment for me, the way that conversation developed. But the point is it's so easy to put even God's good things, the blessings that he has, to become an idol to us. And
Well, Stephanie, that we mentioned earlier to pray for this morning, could that not be happening to some degree with her husband? Because I guarantee you she'd be up here all the time.
well, I don't know. I don't know his story
but he's not going.
Yeah.
So
Can the church end up being an idolatry to
Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely.
If it was for the Pharisees,
right? That's
and
right.
it's sad to see.
So I don't want to spend a lot of time there, but we could talk about that for days, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
A biblical understanding of ecology. How do we balance the fact that we're to be stewards of God's created world with the realization that it will ultimately be destroyed in the fire of his judgment? Is the tension resolved when we realize that God intends the creation of a new heavens and earth? Should our focus on ecology be motivated by reverence for the environment or by an understanding of the consequences of environmental decay for other people? Should our stewardship of this environment point toward the future stewardship of the new creation? Ah, boy.
I don't know that our environment is totally going to be gone because Christ is going to come back. And so come back to Israel, right?
There's going to be a new creation.
I understand, but he didn't say he's going to just totally do.
He just,
We're not going to be breathing on oxygen anymore, I guess you're thinking, right?
yes, we are.
Okay, well,
In the new creation.
I mean, when
I
the
understand.
skies are rolled back like a scroll, I mean, it's like, I think there's nothing that we are experiencing now that we will experience then that isn't completely redone.
Absolutely true.
Well, there's one thing I believe that I've read in biblical text that we're going to know each other in heaven, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's at least something going on there.
But we'll be new people.
Oh,
We'll be-
I understand, but I mean, that's being taken over with it, so right?
Yeah, but I think this intent of Revelation, the newness of everything,
Yeah,
is like creation part 2.
starting all over
Not,
again,
it's like out of nothing came something.
right?
Out of nothing will come new. This is not going to be. I mean, it may be reflective of what we know now, the beautiful mountains, waters, things like that. But
So
there will be
Adam-
nothing about the new experience that is
Yeah.
the same as the old experience because it will be completely new. And the word "new" is emphasized pretty strongly. I think we're going to see that later on when we get to the late part of Revelation. That newness is almost like what has never existed before, kind of a.
That's exactly what I was trying to get at. Is we don't have anything right now to indicate what that new is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Well, we do.
it's going to be.
We'll get to it
does
here.
not exist.
Yeah,
It does not exist in us at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
almost like God's gonna take with all the damage and everything we see happening, everything gonna turn into ashes. And basically, he's gonna start all over again with a new creation.
He's not going to use those ashes.
Well, I didn't say he's gonna use that, well, but I'm saying there's nothing here. But
There's nothing here that will be there except us.
and
Because of Jesus.
and even us are the recreated us.
Yeah, the new us.
Yeah, the new us. That once again, this is about.
No caller.
This is that picture from 1 Corinthians.
my doctor in Winston.
Yeah.
Let me get this.
That we are a new creation. Old things have passed away, behold, all things become new. That I don't think we meditate on that enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
that newness is that's a part of the great hope that we have.
Yeah,
Well, my cardiologist did too.
yeah, and this I remember. There's sort of a popular thing where people are like, somebody died, well, heaven needed a new angel, and I'm like, I'm not going to settle for angel in eternity.
Yeah.
I mean that there's something new and better that even the angels desire to look into, kind of a. I mean, it's like.
the Bible in several places calls Jesus the new Adam. And he is that in that he is the firstborn, as Adam was, of all creation. When Jesus died on the cross and was resurrected,
If it's possible to work
and
that
ascended
out.
into heaven, he went as the first, very first of a new kind. He isn't there as the old kind. He's there as the new kind, the resurrected kind. And it's that newness that we get when we are, that the Holy Spirit gives to us. What a powerful thing it needs to be in our lives.
Mhm.
What an overwhelming thing. I think your idea about meditating on new is a really good idea, George.
You know, I get glimpses of what you're saying here. And then I end up saying, now what do I do? You know, and I think I needed, there's something I need to do. What do I do?
Well, this is where I think we go back to focusing on the glory of God and exalting him. You know, I can't remember the text I was trying to remember, but eye is not seen, ear is not heard, and hasn't even entered into the mind of man the things that God is preparing for us. And so, like I think it's not a wasted. I don't think it's a wasted endeavor to meditate on what heaven must be like and what the new creation must be like. But no matter no matter where we come down on that, we haven't come down to the right place. That's it's going to be even better. Imagine the most amazing betterness that we could think of now in heaven, and God's like, that's you haven't come close, you know. And that's what, to me, it gets almost chill bumps when I think about the fact that the best that I can imagine isn't even in the ballpark.
Imagine the best tasting grape you've ever tasted. Imagine the best strawberry you've ever tasted. Now imagine that strawberry being big enough that you can make a meal of it.
Mhm.
It's just stunning when you start to think about it. I'm
What then is a result of my human imagination and spiritual reality? And when I say spiritual reality, I'm talking about something I have no knowledge of,
yeah,
whatever is going to be.
yeah.
The only thing I can refer that to is Christ, that I'm not sure I understand anyway.
The
That degree of love,
Yeah.
as a human being, that's hard to imagine.
there's a way that we need to look at each of the books of the Bible and the Bible as a whole. And I think your background in literature will this will make quick sense to you. Every part needs to contribute to the meaning of the whole.
Yeah.
When we write, if we're doing a good job writing, we write the things that are necessary for our readers to be able to understand the thoughts that we're having.
Okay.
When it talks about these 144,000, when it talks about the sky being rolled up, all of those things, those are all things that help me understand and should help all of us understand that there's way more going on than I understand, and that I can be confident in spite of what I might experience now. I can be confident that in the end it's going to be as good and as new and as perfect, in fact more good, new, and perfect than I can even imagine.
Okay, at this particular point, you're talking about belief,
Yeah,
faith.
Yeah, faith.
That's the bridge. That's the complete total bridge.
Yeah.
But
And
it
it-
has to be in the competence of the person that does that bridge, and that's Christ.
What John's trying to do with the book of Revelation is make sure that that bridge is recognizable. He wants you and I to know that no matter how difficult this gets in this world, that there is that bridge, and that nothing about this difficulty should interfere with the bridge. The bridge is going to be there. No matter how tightly they tie me and light the fire underneath me, I'm going to be in heaven in a minute or two. No matter how many guys line up to shoot at me, and all of them shoot me straight through the chest, in a minute I'm going to be in heaven. No matter how crazy the world around me gets, there is this truth, this absolute really truth that I believe, and it's encouraging me to hold on to that truth right through, no matter what happens to me here. It's encouraging me to be steadfast with my trust in those promises. It's encouraging me to believe that Jesus can and will deliver on what he said. No matter whether his name's Putin or Xi or Trump, he's very limited. This one who's making these promises, that bridge is as solid as it's more solid than anything I've ever experienced. That bridge is the real thing. It should, when I talk to my kids and they tell me how crazy the world has gotten, I need to agree with them because I see it too, but I also need to remind them that this world is going to pass away and it's going to be really, really good. And there's no doubt. I don't, because of the things that come against me, and maybe the people that have seen combat know more about this than all the rest of us do. There's a moment when you realize that there's more coming than you can deal with.
Yeah.
And when that happens, this book wants you and I to know that I don't have to deal with it. That bridge is really there and I'm going to make it. They may take me out here. When they do, I'm going to be in a really good place.
Well, I was just thinking about Hebrews 11, where it's talking about Abraham was looking for a city who's not made by human hands, whose designer and builder and the foundations were laid by God. And it's like what is being commended about Abraham's faith is that his vision was not even limited to his understanding. His vision was God's the one who's going to do this. And to me, that's the reason why I think it's important to emphasize that idea about newness, because newness is a faith, for us, it's a faith vision, not what can we do vision, how would we do it if we were doing it,
Yeah.
We'll pick up there next time. We're run out of time again.
Sorry for the interruption, guys.
No, you're the interruptions are welcome, Fred. I may get frustrated with my ability to answer, but the interruptions are welcome. So what do we, Big's question, what do we take away from this? What do we do because of this? What we've seen and heard. What do we do because there is going to be a new creation?
One of the things that
No.
fascinated. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ted.
Well, yeah, your statement about idolatry is the fundamental sin of men and women, and it's always expressed in created things. And so I've never been a proponent of this environmental argument about, you argue whether you should go to windmills because all the metals it takes to make batteries and things, and all these arguments about you spend more money making batteries than you do and what you get out of the result. And there's been ice ages and there's been hot times in this world because that's part of God's plan. And so I think it's all a waste of time to know that this earth is going away and there's nothing we can do. I'm not sure. I don't think it's really man-made that the earth is warming up 1/10 of a degree every whatever, who knows what it is. Okay. It doesn't make any difference. God's plan is what makes a difference. And if we spend all this energy instead studying a relationship with God, that would be the most important thing we could be doing and get rid of all this other stuff. It's just because these are all it's just like that's just like football or other things that get in the way of the relationship with God. I think to me, that's the answer. Why worry about all these things? You can't do anything about it. God's in charge.
I'm thinking about this Sunday and I'm looking at Joshua 3 and 4 and the crossing of the Jordan River and how they took these stones and set them up in Gilgal as a reminder of what God had done. But nobody can find the stones today. And in the history of Israel, stones were a place that was supposed to be a memorial, but they also turned into altars at times, altars for bad. And the problem is anytime you worship the stones instead of the God of the stones, you've made an idol. So, of course, I'm thinking about this weekend, 4th of July celebration and everything. I mean, there are a lot of things in our lives that are designed to be reminders of God's goodness and reminders of things, of important events in our lives. But man, when we worship the wrong thing, we miss. And so, yeah, I'm with you on the environment stuff. I don't think we should be wasteful or intentionally harmful to the environment, but man, it's going to figure itself out, and we just need to be good stewards and then worship the God of creation.
Yeah, I agree.
Not creation.
That's like the high places in the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Isn't it amazing there's no remnant from time to time, like what George mentioned? And one of the biggest ones that I see that they can't find really a trace is nothing with Sodom and Gomorrah. So, the Lord is taking these away for some explicit reason.
Yeah.
That I think he's probably totally fed up with. Man got too much out of it as it was, the situation or what occurred. That, hey, it doesn't need to be. God's not endorsing it anymore.
Yeah. We know that things are getting worse and worse. We know that's in keeping with what Revelation says will happen.
Mm-hmm.
When they say that this series of high temperatures that we've had is the greatest series of high temperatures that we've had in over a century. Well, what that says is a century ago, we had a series of high temperatures that were just slightly less than this.
Yeah.
That's a good
By
point.
1 degree, maybe, right?
Yeah, well, by 1/10 of a degree.
Well, yeah.
But this is more, and it's a problem. It's getting worse. But doesn't God fix things? Haven't we seen that? When I was a kid in elementary school, I remember thinking about all those people that we're not going to be able to have enough food because we can't grow enough food in the world for all those for that population that's coming. Well, you know what? We're growing way more food than we can feed the people these days. We really are. We don't distribute it properly, but we've got way more food than we've got people to eat it. But now we've got a problem with birth rates. Birth rates are declining to the point where pretty soon, Fred, there aren't going to be enough of your kids and grandchildren to support you in your old age. That's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be great if God turns that around where the grandkids are keeping up the grandparents a little bit. But you know what's amazing? Look at China. They're telling all these women, hey, y'all need to go out there, in the next year and add another one to, to help us out with the population. They're off so much, right?
Yeah. It's and that too will resolve in some way or another.
Yeah.
All it takes is one forest fire in Los Angeles to wipe out 10 years of trying to do all these things about the environment. I mean, okay, it makes no difference. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah. We're awfully attached to things, and we get focused on them and we turn them into idols, and for no good reason.
With this guy, is he not trying to wake some of us up once in a while recently? What have you seen the storms that we're getting now, which you've got to agree are a lot more severe than in the past? And they're totally coming from another direction. All the hurricanes, everything used to come right in off the Atlantic and slam us on the East Coast. Look at what's coming through Texas now and coming up and then just taking care of hitting a large part of the US. And I mean, like today.
Yep.
They're saying today could be a pretty ugly day. You're living, I don't know, maybe you know something. I don't.
It's worse than it's ever been.
That's what I'm saying.
That's just what Revelation says it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be the worst that it ever was.
Look what you have in your area in Boone and Banner Elk and everything else. A couple of the big storm when flooding in the mountains at 4,000 feet. Okay, look at that.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That was the point. Absolutely. Look what happened up here. At the same time, look at what Milton did going across Florida.
Yeah.
Lord wasn't working just in one area of the country. I mean, he had pretty much covered.
Well, the point is that we are to remember, we are to know that in all of it, in the midst of the things that will come, that will overwhelm us, we're not invincible. I know that I am until that moment when I'm not. I'm still 18 in here, guys.
Yeah. hmm
Hey, Jesus does want us to tell the truth. Okay.
In spite of all of those things that will come and get us, in spite of all of that, we have something that's more real and more powerful and more trustworthy than anything else that we've ever experienced. What do you do when your spouse dies? What do you do when all of that, when that which is made one is shredded apart?
Totally ripped apart. Yeah.
Ripped.
Yeah.
There's a great deal of pain that comes with that. There's a great deal of struggle that comes with that. How do we deal with that and not go crazy? The best thing to do is to trust. I know where my loved one is, and to trust that I will be there as well, and to trust that the Lord has a plan that's way bigger than my little plan.
Well, just look at all the kids that are shot in the US. I mean, every night you turn on WBT or you turn on a radio station, catch the 6 o'clock news. Some poor kid, because of some ignorance or some stupidity done out of a teenager with a weapon, not knowing how to handle it. Another child suffers, and there's a family that's going to be hurt to some degree.
Worse than it's ever been.
Yep.
The author of the book of Revelation wants us to know that that's true and that it's going to get worse yet. But he also wants us to know that we can trust
Yep.
that there's a place beyond this place.
Right.
And we can get there. The fortune that I'm hoping yet to build in my life, that the dollars, that fortune that I'm hoping to build for my kids is silly. That isn't what is going to save them.
People tell me that from time to time because that's what I went to school for, basically business and finance.
Well, they tell you that because they know you're rich.
Well, here's the thing is, first of all, I think the big thing is to realize it's not my money. It's God's money. And the second thing is all the things that go on, not only in this church, but in several other situations. The Lord allows me to give it away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing of it is, if everybody was broke, you wouldn't have to call your pastor up and say, you're meeting Jesus, don't worry about that surgery. So, I mean, it's, and when people sit here and say, well, somebody's rich. Compared to who? The Rockefellers? I mean, to rich, somebody could be worth $1 million and that's rich to somebody. And then, you go to 100 million and that's nothing to Jeff Bezos or, several others. So, but I think if you turn around and what you make, you give it away to folks in need.
Yep.
And it'd be so easy to go out there and say, hey, Lord, how about cut me a break? I need a Maserati or something to cruise around in. And he sit there, don't you be touching my account, man. I think it's how you use it and how you handle it is
Yeah, recognizing that it is not yours to start with is the
he's allowing me to manage it.
beginning of wisdom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, who would pray?
I'll pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you. We just thank you for number one, all the prayer